The biggest names in the game are here.
The Jasper Probenkruk III, South Carolina State University.
This is the Rob Dibble Show.
Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. Joining us now, Mr. Indiana, Dan Dakich.
Oh, yeah.
Played at Indiana, coached at Indiana, does a radio show in Indiana, also on Outkick, Don't At Me. How you doing, Doc?
Man, I was doing great after the conversation with you today. What a fun time. Appreciate you, my brother. Thanks for coming on. Good stuff.
I appreciate you, too. Okay, so we've been talking about Rafael Devers saying, I don't want to play first base. And basically, you know, had Bobby Knight ever asked you to play any position on the court, or if you ever asked somebody to play a different position and they said no, what would your reaction be as a coach?
I was a bit of a maniac. There would have been mother blanker, you're going to do what the blank I said, or get your blank the blank out of here. I don't give a damn. That would have been mine. Coach Knight, I remember he asked a couple kids the red shirt, and they were hemming and hawing. He said, well, you got a choice. You can red shirt or you can go somewhere else. What do you want to do? It's a different world. But yeah, I saw that. Devers been, he's been whining all year. I mean, damn, you want to play third base, you want DA. I mean, shut up. Just help your team win. Shut up. Jeez.
Take us back to the final 25 seconds of Game 2. I mean, you're down 3 points. It seems all hope is lost, and the Cavs throw the dumbest turnover in the world. And the whole missing the free throw, Doc, and then getting the shot back, like that's tried all the time and rarely gets pulled off. But just tell me your thoughts about that final 25 seconds of the Pacers' comeback win.
All right, turnover first. All right, but no, let me back up. The dunk first off of the free throw when Neesmith went past Donovan Mitchell, I thought to myself, man, there's a chance. Just because you got to make stupid, you got to get some help from the other team. You got to make plays. But the turnover, I swear to you, my thought was, did they blow the whistle? Like, did the guy just throw it because the whistle blew and they're going to reset it? Because it was such a ridiculous pass. And such an easy steal, like we were talking about on our show, Nembhard didn't have to lunge. He didn't have to get a tip. It was almost like the ball was thrown to him.
Yeah.
So my thought was, and I waited a split second. You know how in sports sometimes you wait a split second to see what, did that happen? And then when they got the ball back and Halliburton had the ball, I don't know if the announcer or somebody I was watching with a couple friends, I don't know if somebody said you got to call timeout, and my thought was, no, you don't, because you're going to call timeout. You're going to have to inbound the ball. You're going to have to get it to Halliburton against the matchup you want. You got that right now against Ty Jerome. This is perfect. Like and then when it went in, I mean, I don't pretend to be like a fanboy or anything, but I literally jumped up and we're all like yelling like we're 12 years old. It was one of those deals where, and it was really kind of the same thing when Halliburton went to the rim, beat Giannis for the layup to beat the Bucks, 10 days ago. It was kind of the same thing. Like, wait a second, did this really happen? Like no. And then you look at the numbers, before the last 2 weeks, only one of 1,600 and some have ever done it, that kind of thing. It's really amazing. And it was literally that reaction. Did you throw the ball to the other team that easy on an inbound? Like, what the hell are you doing? But you know what? You got to credit Halliburton, man. The dude makes big plays late.
I was on your show. We were talking about this with the Celtics being favored. They're down 2-0, going to New York tomorrow. You're going to be at the game in Indiana for the Pacers tonight, and Cleveland favored over the Pacers, but the Pacers, going back to the Bucks series, have now won 6 out of 7 playoff games. Who does this game mean more to tonight, the Cavaliers or the Pacers?
I'm going to say the Cavaliers, only because if it's 3-zip, then you said it earlier. Statistics say that you're not coming back from that. But I listened to Charles and Shaq last night, and they made some good points. They've been involved in series like that. You flip a series pretty easy. Hell, you know that. You played so many series, whether it's 3 games, 4 games out of 7, whatever it is. You know, I think it's meaningful for both, and I think this is where real coaching comes in. You know, so many times people say, you know, if a guy runs a good inbounds play, well, that's coaching. No, it's not. It means you worked on your inbounds play. This is coaching. This is psychology. This is getting your leaders of the team on both sides, the Cavaliers, actually all 4 sides, Cavaliers and Boston, who are down 2, getting your leaders and your team right. And then, of course, the Pacers and the Knicks, they're up. You know, you asked me about Bob Knight earlier, Coach Knight, and the thing I've always said about him was if you had a big win, you've pretty much forgotten about it by the time you left the gym that night. Because you were expected to win when you were at Indiana. You were expected to win, you know, when you had the great Reds teams. It wasn't like we're going to lose our minds celebrating, but that's not always, and that's not necessarily, you know, this Pacer team. Yes, they have experience, and they got to draw on that, knowing these are long series and not to anticipate anything. But you got to put that into practice. And that's what makes these series so interesting. Now, this is real coaching. This is real leadership. You know, internal leadership. How do both teams respond? And I would say this. If this is a great game tonight and then Boston and New York is a great game tomorrow, both coaches have done their job. Because, you know what, sometimes a guy just makes a shot. And then we evaluate it about, wow, the coach didn't have it. No BS. One guy made a shot. One guy... You know, I always say 1987, I got a national championship ring because a kid hit a falling out of bounds jump shot in a national championship game for Indiana against Syracuse. You know, you missed that shot. Jim Boeheim's got 2 national championships. You know, and Syracuse guys have national. So that's what it comes. Both teams played their ass off. Both teams competed. Both coaches did what they were supposed to do. Just one guy made a play. And if one team beats the other team bad tonight and then tomorrow, then you got to look at what the setup was. Then you got to look at the leadership of the team. That's what I'm looking at tonight, that kind of stuff.
Have the Celtics collapsed or have the Knicks come back on them? Like, how do you look at these 2 losses from Boston when they were up so much in the second half?
Look, you lose 20-point leads, and 20-point leads aren't that big a deal, but they're still a pretty big deal. You lose 20-point leads, both has happened. You know, the Knicks made terrific plays to be back in the game, and the Celtics, yeah, they didn't make the plays they needed to make, whether it's an open shot, which they had, whether it was getting a stance, and I'm going to stop my guy, or I'm going to be in help side and take a charge when somebody else. No, it's always both. It's like I said about the Pacer game. Pacer made some plays, but sure as hell, you know, the inbounds pass was thrown by a Cleveland guy. They help, and so it's always both. But you got to give the New York Knicks credit from this standpoint. You know, you can fold up shop, and I don't think the home court. You know, Dibs, you can speak way more about this than I can, but I don't think the home court or the home field means as much to pros that have been in these situations a million times. Like tonight, Cleveland's 30-11 on the road during the regular season. You think they give a crap that, you know, my fat ass and other fat asses like me are going to be waving towels, you know? Like, you know, like, who gives a rat? But the truth is, it's always a combination. You always, when you come back, and I've been on both sides of those as a player, both sides of those as a coach, you always get help by the other team at some point. You know, in baseball, you're up, you know, you're down 8-2. Guy in right field makes an error. Next thing you know, it's 8-3, and you got runners on second and third, and 1 out, and somebody gets a hit. Now it's 8-5. You know, so I would give it both, guys. And I think that's usually, if not always, the way it goes down.
Talking to Dan Dakich about the NBA playoffs. Tell me about Tyrese Halliburton. You have a show in Indiana. You're from Indiana. What kind of player is he, and how did Sacramento give up on this guy?
Man, that's a great question. You know, I don't know. And first time I interviewed him, I did a game of his at Iowa State. They got beat by Iowa, and it was a hell of a game in Hilton Coliseum. And I thought Halliburton was a good player. And then, like a month later, I'm looking at NBA stuff, and he's a lottery pick, and I'm thinking to myself, get out of here. No, not the guy I saw. And then didn't pay attention. Then he comes over, and they get him for Sabonis, who's got great numbers and is a really good player.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a typical player. He's kind of a big guy, maybe undersized, can get you good numbers. But those guys really don't win in the NBA. And first time I saw Halliburton, I thought, wait a second here. This guy has unbelievable vision and unbelievable enthusiasm. And then I interviewed him on my show, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This is a great dude. Like, this is a guy that wants to be one of the all-time greats, and not only wants to be, but he works at it. Nobody can predict anybody's heart late in games, but we all knew, based on what we had seen over the course of the year, that when that poll came out in The Athletic that said he was the most overrated player in the NBA, we're like, well, the guys that vote, either don't know or they got something against them, or, because we saw him. And it's not just scoring. We saw him making right play after right play, particularly the second half of the season. Early in the season, he was bad, and he admitted to being bad. That's what I like about him, too. He said, I'm bad. He goes, I don't know. I don't know if I focused enough in the offseason. I don't know, but I'm going to get this figured out. And he did. But now you tell me, anybody in the NBA, maybe Brunson, but is there anybody in the NBA you want taking a big shot more than that guy? Pretty good, man. And he's a freaking his assist to turnovers is, I think before the playoffs, I don't know what it's been since, but it was something like 13-2. That's 13 assists to 2 turnovers. So was that 6.5 to 1? I mean, damn, coaches lose their mind, and get excited when it's 2.5 to 1. You're talking about 6.5 to 1 in NBA games. Pretty good.
And he's got a really proud dad. I mean, I think we all know that as well. How did that play in Indianapolis when John Halliburton went after Giannis Antetokounmpo after they beat the Bucks?
That played a dumbass. This isn't the first time. It also played 2 other ways, though, that, man, Halliburton and the Greek Freak are great dudes.
Yeah.
Like Halliburton handled it fantastic. But in Indiana, there's stories of Halliburton's dad are all over, and whether it was AAU, he's acting like an idiot in other places. So it did not surprise that he was suspended. And the Pacers, to their credit, they didn't push it off on the league. They didn't push it off on anybody. But hey, look, we made this decision. We told the dad agreed. But they made it very clear this is their decision. So. I thought that was pretty good, particularly, that's the face of the franchise in a sport where, I mean, let's be honest, they sell stars in the NBA, right? I mean, that's kind of what they sell. And Pacers had the stones to do it. And that's kind of the Pacers organization, guys. It's like there's no drama with the Pacers. There's no nonsense. There's no, like, the guy that runs the joint, Kevin Pritchard, is just a good dude. His GM, Chad Buchanan, just basketball guys, man. They don't, Carlisle's been doing this for 7,000. He don't get into drama. And the guy that's been there the longest, Miles Turner, I think he could do more, and I'm sometimes critical, but I'm never critical of him as a dude. He's a bright kid. He's not a kid, but he's a bright guy that is dedicated to his craft. And so it's just a solid thing, man. It's the kind of thing you just kind of root for because there's no nonsense. There's no, I can't swear on the air, but you know the word I want to use. There's no BS. There's just nothing.
All right. One of the best things I love about you is you're a Cubs fan like Ben.
That's right.
Cubs are playing the Mets this weekend, and your family, Doc, you're afraid that the Pope likes the White Sox?
Yeah, he does. It's official. His brother came out today. His brother said he's been growing up as a White Sox. Somebody lied about that yesterday. It's a heartbreaker, Dibs. I'm not right about it yet.
It's one thing. It's just one thing. I mean, like I don't hold it against him. Like I told you. Yeah, but he graduated Villanova. And, I told you on your show, my wife's from UConn. And we're UConn people. So it's,
but
everybody's got one thing.
I mean, the White Sox,
Hey, good guys wear black. I wore black. I was a White Sox for a minute.
I was like the only guy that I did like the White Sox. Ron Kittle was from my high school.
He was a beast.
He would come back. Yeah, he would come back when I was a senior. He was playing actually with I think he was in the Dodgers organization. And he would come back and we'd play one-on-one after my high school practices. He would come and he would hit the cage upstairs, and then he'd be like, let's go, Indiana boy. He would come on, IU boy, I'm going to kick your. I'm like, all right, let's go. And I'd beat him 100-0. And then he became the rookie of the year and all that. So I rooted for him and Greg Walker and Fisk and all those guys in '83. Yep. But we're Cubs people, the holiest of all women. And I think I told you this. My 89-year-old mother is getting married to her 92-year-old boyfriend in the middle of June. And she broke the news. She researched this. She goes to church every day. And she's like, the dude is a freaking White Sox fan. And we'll deal with it as a family internally. Thoughts and prayers. Respect our privacy, please.
I'm so with you. I'm right there with you. What are the things you like on the Cubbies this year? What are the things you don't like? Give me a player that you really like that you didn't expect to, and give me a player that you're not so sure about yet and you want him to come around.
I'm a big fan. I was when Kyle Tucker was young coming up. I remember when they were in the playoffs, they're like, this is the next guy. And when they got him, I'm thinking, all right, this is fantastic. And, I like Crow Armstrong.
Got to.
He's like, he's not. But remember in Bad News Bears, Kelly Leak?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Off the motorcycle, right?
Of course.
It reminds me of the guy that comes in. I'm not 100%, even 10% on their bullpen. I don't understand it either because in Dibs, I think I've told you this. Going back to when the Nasty Boys were going, I paid attention. And I remember saying, you better have a freaking bullpen. You better have dudes that are electric out of there. And when they won it in 16, they kind of did. Even Carl Edwards, who struggled a bit, he would throw it at 98. He would bring it.
Yep.
But I don't like their bullpen. Imamoto, I'm good with. Not great yet. I want to see what he does. When the Cubs have won it, Arrieta was putting up insane numbers. Yep. I want to see that. Lester was very good. I want to see that kind of consistency. I know everybody's losing their mind over him, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm starting to like Suzuki. I don't want this to sound any way other than baseball-ish, but all these guys come over, and other than Ichiro, I don't know. How great have they been? These guys that come over.
You were just like Dibs. This is what Dibs says. Huh? This is what Dibs says all the time. He hates on all the Japanese players. He doesn't. He has Ichiro such a high bar. Not everybody's going to be, a 400 hitter every single year, but Seiya's coming around.
Remember Fukudomi?
Of course.
Fukudomi comes over and he hits a home run opening day.
First at bat.
Like, all right, this is the next Ichiro, and then I don't know. He was Fukudomi. Who cares?
Who knows where he is these days?
Yeah, but then you get the dude, Yoshida comes over here. Guy can't play the outfield for the Red Sox. You got to be kidding me. These are like the most. I've been told every year in my life they're the most fundamentally sound guys in the world.
They are.
Guy can't play left field.
He doesn't like it.
Here's what I got told. Who was that guy that with Jeter and all those guys? But Matsui, who batted third for the Yankees?
It was Matsui.
Yeah, Godzilla.
Yeah. All I ever heard about him was how great he was supposed to be, and he always carried a big suitcase of porn on the road. Bring the porn and hit third. Let's go. Let's go.
There you go. Now that's my kind of teammate right there. Oh, God.
Bring the porn.
Third and porn. There you go. It's a street name. Doc, you're the best, buddy. Enjoy the Pacers game tonight.
Go Pacers. Thanks, Doc.
All right, I'm painting my chest. If you see a bald fat guy running around flopping a belly, that's going to be me with a hairy back.
I want to see you wave that towel.
Can't wait. All right. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Dan Dakich, everybody. Don't At Me is his podcast on Outkick. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do First Dibs question of the day.
84 eastbound, very